So are there any questions? I was thinking about what you said and listening to you. And one thing that struck me was when you kind of talked about the situation where human beings don't like, besides the seeing and the hearing, we don't smell as well as other animals. We can't. It's amazing to, like, I have a cat and see her, first she'll hear something that I don't hear. Her ears will, and then she'll start smelling. And it's all this information coming just to this house cat. I mean, she goes outside all the time. Anyway, this cat that I'm not aware of. And I can appreciate that it's genuine for her, that she has heightened, what I would think of as a heightened awareness, centrally. And one of the things that draw me towards Zen, the first thing that made me want to practice Zen was, I didn't know anything about what the Buddha taught, and I also read a book by I read all of his books, D.T. Suzuki, when I was in my early 20s, and the first one I read, it was on the first page, it said that the Buddha taught that everybody has it, and that everybody has enlightenment nature. And that just, I didn't go to high school, I went to a trade school, I went to a nursing school, so I didn't know anything about religion, really. I didn't take any philosophy courses or anything. So, but I knew that Buddhism was a major factor in the religious world, in the you know. So I thought, well, Buddhism, I didn't know Buddhism taught that everybody has it, that everybody has Buddha nature. And made me really happy, because that's not what I'd been taught when I was growing up in my religion. So then I started practicing, and back then it was pretty easy to find different places to practice, and I finally found Zen Master Soeng Hyang, the same teacher he was referring to, and it became even clearer to me what the Buddha taught, in a sense of just, again, heightening your awareness and paying attention. And what we said tonight before the meditation was to, if you felt comfortable, to breathe in clear mind, breathe out don't know. And when I first heard my teacher talk about don't know mind, I didn't really know what he was talking about. It's like, don't know what? He said, just don't know. It was really a great koan for me, because I really was loved. It helped me a lot to breathe out don't know. But I would end it with don't know what. You know? That was my process, my personal. And I remember I'd been at the Zen Center for a long time, maybe 7 years, and I was working, at that point I had a baby at home, so I started working 3 nights a week. I just cut my workload down to doing a night shift, 11 to 7, 3 nights a week. And so that I could be with her all day. And so I would get pretty tired, because I was just getting 2 long naps, basically, and then I'd be at work at 11. And so I was driving home one morning after I'd been up all night at this job, and I was doing that same thing, don't know what. Like, what is don't know? This is after like 7 or 8 years of living at the Zen Center. And all of a sudden I just said, don't know is don't know. Like, don't know is like you don't know. Like, just open mind. It's kind of like when a cat is half asleep lying in the lawn and all of a sudden perks up and smells something I don't smell, hears something I don't hear. And it's a good question. What is that? What is that? So that's what our job is when we practice, is to it's a great job, because you can choose to be kind of in a darkened world, or you can realize the potential of the human mind is tremendous. Is what we have, the cat doesn't have, is compassion. You know? We have an opening, a way to build hospitals and lend a hand and just open up to so much. You know, write a symphony. It's just tremendous things that we're capable of. So, and it can be, like you said, I don't know about enlightenment, but that's good. Because if you think you know, then it's already pushed away, you know. So if we can just have some faith in ourselves about our potential, and you know, some of you came here tonight, I think for the first time. I heard you getting instructions. It's pretty weird here, you know. I mean, you got to say. Some of us are wearing these things, and there's chanting in another language, and we say, well, sit for 25 minutes and be still. How many times are you asked to do that? Just sit and be still. So there's a method to this. There's a reason for everything, for the chanting, we do a lot of prostration sometimes, and we do a lot of sitting. And we do what we call together action, which means that we act in a group when we're in a retreat or when we're in a situation where we're going to practice together. We call it together action, and we just follow the instructions. So if it's chanting time, we chant. Walking time, we follow. We walk in a line, we just follow. And then sitting time, we just do as the instructions said tonight, to come back to this moment. Come back to this moment. So another way to look at it is we're putting down our conditioning, or we're putting down our personal idea of our situation, and we're putting down our opinions. Because we can't say, well, I'd like to sit 20 minutes instead of 25 tonight. No, you don't get to do that. So you get to sit for 25 minutes. That's what everybody gets to do, you know. So it's pretty amazing, because it's like it can sound a little bit, I don't know, too strict or too formulated, and yet it's an amazing thing when you get your individuality just to join a bunch of other people. You hear, you know, I used to, it's time's passing now, but when I've been a nurse for 40 years, I took care of a lot of vets from World War II in my time. A lot. I've met a lot of men that, mostly men that were in the war. And they just light up, almost all of them, like, when I was in the Army. And even though they might have had a horrible time part of the time when they were in the Army, what they appreciated was their discipline. I lost 40 pounds. I was such good buddies with all these people. You know, we could do this. It was all we. It was like a sangha. It was like a group of people that acted together. And it was like, because they got a chance to not focus in this neurotic way on our small ego, and just act, just do it, have a cause and do it. So our cause in here is to try to clear up a little bit, see if we can get a little clearer. And we have a thing we call the Zen Circle that we used to talk about it a lot. When my teacher first came to this country, he didn't speak very much English, and he made this circle. And then he learned how to talk about the circle. We helped him with his English. And so just briefly, this circle is, like every circle, it's 360 degrees, and it starts at 0. And so it's divided into 4 parts. So first it goes to 90 degrees, then it goes to 180 degrees, then it goes to 270 degrees, then it goes to 360 degrees. The 360 degrees is at the same point as 0. So it's a very important part of the story. So you start at 0, and then you inch your way around. And this is just a teaching method. It's not, you don't take it too seriously. But so let's say a person who's between 0 and 90 has a lot of delusions. The person that's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 has a lot of delusions. Maybe a mass murderer, maybe a really creepy person, just always looking out for herself and doing bad things. Very selfish, nasty, mean. So then, you know, people in that whole area get nicer and nicer the higher up they go. So if you're at 89, you're a pretty nice person, you know. Really, maybe a school teacher who always brings things in for the kids, always kind, you know, that kind of person. So 90 degrees is when someone they realize that they have karma, that they're conditioned, that they're actually kind of trapped in their sense of self. So that's 90 degrees. So you go, oh, you learn about people that you learn about some teaching where you can break out of your egocentric ideas and be in don't know. You could actually be spontaneous and start to practice towards more and more clarity. So that's 90 degrees. So anything between 90 and 180 is some kind of practice. So you get that you need to practice at 90. Before that, you don't know. You think you're just doing the best you can. That's the way it is. So at 90, you go, oh, I need to practice. So all the way to 180 is just some kind of, it can be any kind of practice. Any kind. Doesn't matter. Just something that works for you. So, of course, we slipped. We made it to 90, but we still can be really horrible sometimes, get really pissed or say something nasty about one of our friends, and we slip back down into 45 or whatever, so it's not like you hit 90 and you never have any issues again. So that's why this circle, you've got to realize you could be anywhere in the circle, then slip back to 45 again, very easily. So you're practicing between 90 and 180, and then there's these things, it's like called an aha experience, like aha, whoo, where you get what so many different religions teach, where you can merge with the universe, you can merge with God, you can become Buddha. You can actually see that there's no I, that this I is part of a huge universal vibration. You lose self in a really healthy way, not like it's not scary, it's like, you get it. And a lot of us, I probably in this room, have faith in that, have faith that it's possible to have those, and all of you have had it. There's sometimes when all of a sudden we have this incredible clarity and we drop self. So that's 180 degrees. So some religions teach to stay at 180. That way you don't have to have karma. There's no karma at that point. You're not tethered to your karma. Although, most people slip back into it. But if you find some techniques to stay at that 180, then they say if you die in that state, you don't have to be reborn. So that's a real big draw for a lot of people who would want, who would want this. So if you're not happy and you see all this suffering, a lot of people feel like they want to go to heaven. They don't want to be in this suffering realm. So that's some religions stop at 180. Now, some people, the area between 180 degrees and 270, that's a whole quarter of the circle. Now, what are they doing in there? What's with that? Well, you've probably heard of people that could levitate, people that could transfer their bodies from one country to another. They can sit in the center of a fire and not get burned. They can fly. So there's all kinds of stories about things like that. It's not easy. It takes a lot of practice. But I've never personally seen anybody do that. But I do think that it's possible. And it doesn't matter. If you don't think it's possible, I probably agree with you with that too. But anyway, that's that place where we call that area up to 270 is like this magic realm, where actually we can get untethered from gravity and containment and know how to move molecules and do things that... actually, if you want to read about that, there's a book that I really like. It's called Autobiography of a Yogi. And it's written by Paramahansa Yogananda. He died in the 50s. He was in California for quite a while, actually. He settled in California. And it's a very interesting book, and he talks about that stuff quite a bit. So in Zen, this is not encouraged, because you kind of mentioned it. Why would you do that? For what and for whom? Why do you get up in the morning? What's the point? So, we might have someone come in now, they can levitate. Well, okay, that's neat. What good does that do? In some ways. That person learned how to levitate. Well, it's interesting. That's kind of an attachment in a way. So Zen just skips that. From 180 to 270, it's not encouraged. So it takes a lot of energy. It's fasting, really slow breath techniques, there's certain mantras where you really just get totally stoned, and then you can begin to realize what anti-gravity is. So from 270 to 360 is that place where you just start to really appreciate that you could increase your awareness, that you could actually increase your awareness. For what? For compassion. For what? For honesty. For being able to walk into a room and not be holding your conditioning, not be holding your opinions, not be holding your situation. Maybe you just had a terrible thing happen to you, but you walk into a room, maybe you're a therapist, and you don't think about what happened to you this morning. You're right there for the client. So that's that ability to drop your conditioning, your situation, your opinions, and act with others. So that's the practice that we really do here, is to try to get clear. So now, are there any questions? Yeah.
Thank you for your talks. Speaking of being clear when walking into a room, there are many rooms in my life where I kind of lose it. It's like there's this mechanism I'm not aware of that hijacks me. Like, for example, today at work, I went into the break room to have lunch with a bunch of people who usually talk about politics. And I say to myself, I'm not going to talk about that. It's not going to help anyone. It's just going to get everyone worked up. But lo and behold, in 5 minutes I'm talking about politics. So my question is, how do you deal with this kind of subconscious hooking, subconsciously getting hooked by some kind of conditioning, I guess you could call it, that makes you do things that you intellectually understand are no good?
Well, he mentioned it during talking about meditation. How do you meditate? And he said, you're going to go off this floor at least 100 times, in 25 minutes. So, you said just to watch the breath. It's going to come. Don't control it. The inhalation will come. The exhalation will come. Inhalation will come. The exhalation will come. That sounds so simple. Then if you do have a thought, just simply drop it, come back. So simple. So it takes practice. You might start having your lunch outside sometimes, if you want. I don't know. There's things that you have to find. If something bugs you enough, you'll do something about it. That's the thing. So when you sit here and you see what's coming back and forth, and it's interesting how hard it is to just... That's our first step, is to see how the mind, it's like a wild horse. Some people think they have mind control, a certain degree of mind control, but you just give that simple instruction. Only 25 minutes, stay with the floor, stay with the ice cream truck, just be with. Oh, okay, I'll try that. That'd be relaxing. And then, just drop it, come back. Well, what's control? What's going on there? It's conditioning. All it is conditioning. So you learn how to drop your condition. You just learn. And why would you want to drop your condition? Because then you can really be alive. That's all. Really be alive. It's just, our story is so boring and so sickening after a while. It's like, so what? You're not going to forget your life just because you sit clearly, or you spend your day being clear. You're not going to forget what you need to remember. You're not. I think one of my fears was that I'd lose control over, wonder if I did all that practice that I'd forget I had a mother and I would never send her a birthday card or something. You're not going to forget that. That's the thing. Things surface as they need to, and that's what's the beauty of art. If we can get a solid center, if we can begin to really get a solid center, we'll actually begin to think from our center rather than from our head. This is like the control. This is the heat down here. This is just a computer. It needs energy. It needs clear energy to run well. So if we can begin to have a clear engine, it's going to help everything else work really well. So this is what this practice is about. It's having a clear center, a clear engine, centering. And everything will, today, I'm going to say, I've been with my partner Mary since 1988. So I was married. I always had boyfriends. I was married till I was 40, and then I had a daughter, and I always identified with being heterosexual. And then this thing happened where I met someone that I really loved, and it happened to be a female, and it was kind of surprised me. And I was kind of embarrassed and homophobic, but I kind of every year I get a little more comfortable with it. And it's coming out as not. It's just being myself. It's not a big deal. Because I feel comfortable with it, and I don't push it, or it just happens to be what I need. And so, when I heard this news today that the Supreme Court did this thing with, it's very complicated what they did if you start listening to people analyze it. But basically, the federal government is recognizing same-sex relationships the same way they do heterosexual relationships. That's kind of neat, It's for me, and so I cried like 4 or 5 times today. I was surprised at myself. I thought, I was kind of like, whatever, because I just have to believe in myself, and so what would they think, and blah, blah, blah. But also I just let that come up, like this emotion, this thing I was so, for me it was just, it made me cry. And, in the past I have this kind of a German background. I'd be like, come on, get it together, let's go straight, keep going, don't get lost in your emotions. I was like really enjoying that emotion today. So practicing Zen doesn't make you a robot. It's actually, for me, it's loosening me up. I appreciate, like, wow, you feel like crying? Well, then go ahead. And I was happy crying. So, if other people are like really pissed off today about the same thing that's making me cry, that's life. I don't have any argument about that. It's always been that way with human beings. So the theory with the Buddha is that if we all practiced diligently, and when I say diligently, it means just be in the moment. It doesn't mean you have to just sit there like a stone, but just keep realizing, like, you're getting hooked up at lunch with these guys with politics. We just have to keep realizing and we eventually find peace. That's all it's about. It's all it's about, and then there is possible to have world peace. It's possible. We don't know when, how. Might not be on this earth, but if all of us keep moving towards that direction. And I was house sitting last week for someone, and they had a stone that was carved on it. It was a quote from the Dalai Lama. They had it in their yard, and it basically just said that we don't need religion, we don't need books, we need kindness. That's all it said. Everybody loves the Dalai Lama. Why? I heard him speak in Providence, Rhode Island not too long ago, and all he does is talk about kindness. Really, he doesn't, I'm sure if he was with a more sophisticated audience, he might get into something more Buddhist or something. But he usually has this huge audience of all different kinds of people from different walks of life. He talks about kindness, and people love it. Just getting to be kind. So that kindness comes automatically from attentiveness. So that's what we need to have faith in. So are there any other questions?
I began the day with going to the chapel and I'm going to get married. I thought I was out on the street until I realized my daughter and her dog were coming up the stairs. And she said, "Guess what? Goma, it's gone. Mommy, we're okay." She was 7 when my partner moved in, and she's 41 now. And she has wanted legitimacy for 34 years. And Sergey, when you said, I didn't want to talk about politics today, I've been crying all day too. I went to the hairdresser to get my bangs trimmed. Talking to a guy there who got married by, how can I forget his name? Dellums and Barbara Lee. So in that brief period when marriage was legal in California, I thought, wow, getting married by Ron Dellums and Barbara Lee are 2 of my heroes. And we talked for a while, and then I said, well, it's really nice talking to you, have a good day. And he said, no. And he stood up, and he just held me. I don't know the guy's name. Today is, I have felt illegitimate my whole life. 70 years. And today had so much pain. And today, we're such open. And it's not just for my partner, it's my daughter, who, God bless, being raised in Berkeley, but even being raised in Berkeley, it was really, when she went to junior high, middle school, all of a sudden Carolyn became her roommate. Carolyn was hurt for a while until I said, hey, she's in middle school, you know? There's nothing more difficult than middle school. She can't let those kids know, even in Berkeley. So today is an extraordinary day. And the world feels like a better place. So today, I can talk politics even in here.
You know what's so interesting though is that, when I first met my teacher was in 1972, and back then it still is, abortion was a huge issue. And so I asked him, I thought, well, I didn't know much about Buddhism or Zen. I said, so what does Buddhism say about abortion? And he said, well, what's the abortion all about? You have to give me a situation why this person would have an abortion. So that blew my mind. It wasn't like it's right or it's wrong. It's like, who are the parents of this child and what are they going through? Why would you have an abortion? It wasn't without an attitude. Why would you have an abortion? Or why would you be gay? I mean, they don't really correlate at all. But it's like, but each person has to own their baby, whether it's your gay baby or your pregnancy. And it's male or female, you've got stuff that you've got karma, you've got stuff that very, very valid reason why you were born, a very valid reason why each one of us in this room was put on this earth. And we have to trust our center. We have to trust ourselves. If we have an abortion, we have to completely understand that abortion. Completely. But that's your baby. So what's it all about? And that's the whole thing that Zen teaches. Not right or wrong, good or bad, cheap or expensive. None of that. How is it right now? So I really trust that all of you will continue on your path and get it. Really get it. So thanks for coming tonight.